Naruto smirked as he put his cell phone in his back after mentally torturing Annabeth, his so-called mother's favorite child. She has a special place on his list to destroy Athena. Closing his eyes as his clone's memories came back. Our shadow clones, they make the game so much easier to be in separate locations at the same time. Naruto himself was currently on his way to another demigod settlement, having just finished sufficiently tormenting another, and he must say he's never felt more alive. While these demigods aren't as skilled or as powerful as the ninja he killed back home, but this world has opened so many more possibilities for his games. In the elemental countries he could only stalk his prey and leave threatening notes. Now he can contact them directly, get them nervous of where he is, make them paranoid of who he could be. It was also exciting. Especially with the hunters, a group of young immortal girls in service of Artemis, goddess of the hunt, the moon, childbirth, and chastity, and another person on his list. He encountered a few hunters already. He killed them, of course. Those were the bodies he made sure weren't found, not wanting an angry goddess after him, yet. If he remembered correctly, he's killed 12 hunters. How he wished he could kill the rest, but no, first he had to take care of Artemis first. And her lieutenant. Naruto thought, idly raising a hand to his neck where an arrow had nicked him, while thinking Naruto remembered the first kills he made in this world. Flashback. Naruto growled in annoyance, having been walking for nearly an hour, his bitch of a mother apparently finding it funny to drop him in the middle of a forest at night, just another reason to kill her. Then he heard one of his favorite sounds, as it usually precedes screaming, teenage laughter. Smirking as he flipped his hood up, Naruto went forward, soon finding a campsite with a tent and a dying fire. In the tent he could see 2 shapes inside. Perfect. Naruto thought, looking down before finding a decent-sized rock. Picking it up, Naruto threw it as a tree, seeing the shapes jump a little at the sudden sound. Naruto was still too far away to hear what they were saying, but did see one of the people in the tent get up and walk out, showing a male teen in just pants, making Naruto roll his eyes. Of course, hormonal teenagers. Thought Naruto, beginning to think they just had no survival instincts. Hello, anyone out there? The guy shouted. Yes, yell as loud as you can, not knowing who can hear you. Naruto, though sarcastically this time, purposefully stepping on a twig, breaking it. Naruto ducked into the shadows as the guy started walking towards with a flashlight in hand. Anyone there? Said the guy, waving the light around. When he didn't find anything, he shrugged and turned around to head back to the tent. But when he did, he gasped, seeing Naruto standing behind him. Before he could utter another sound, Naruto's knife was buried in his throat. Naruto watched in enjoyment as the boy tried stopping the blood from flowing to save his own life, though Naruto knew it was futile, making sure to hit the carotid artery. He made sure to study up on human anatomy before he committed his first murder, to know what to hit to ensure his victims can call for help. In a few seconds the teen had bled out, making Naruto smirk before turning his attention to the tent where the other was. 1 down, 1 to go. Naruto thought, walking up to the tent. Naruto heard the girl speak, thinking he was her boyfriend. Not responding, Naruto walked around the tent, hearing the girl's heartbeat increase as she moved away from him. Then, without warning, Naruto stabbed his still blood-stained knife into the tent, intentionally missing the girl. The effect was instant. The girl screamed bloody murder and scrambled out of the tent, running away. I love it when they run, said Naruto as he began walking in the direction the girl ran off to. He walked leisurely, not even worried at the chance of the girl escaping, as he'll catch her. Besides, he's found if he keeps up a calm facade, then his victims will be all the more terrified when he finally catches them. Naruto soon found the girl in a large metal contraption on 4 wheels. It vaguely resembled the trucks in Snow Country, only smaller, so he guessed it served the same function. The girl, too busy trying to start the vehicle, never even noticed Naruto move next to it before punching through the window, getting a scream from her. He then wrapped his hand around her throat and began choking the life out her. Naruto stood idly humming as if he wasn't choking someone to death, while the girl clawed at his hand. He'd think it was funny if he hadn't dealt with the same thing a few dozen times already. Then he felt a prick on his glove. Looking, he saw the girl tried stabbing his hand with a nail file, which would have worked had his gloves, and the rest of his clothes, not been lined with protective seals to prevent such things from happening. Okay, bored now, thought Naruto, twisting his wrist. Snap. The girl's head went limp in his grasp as he let go. End flashback. He had afterwards burned the bodies and campsite, not wanting anyone to start hunting down a murderer yet, and took any money off the two victims along with the car keys. Then he had made his way to New York, after an hour of self-taught driving, and created several dozen clones that he sent to the library to learn all he could of the world. In only 3 days he learned the entire history of the world, along with learning Athena was a Greek goddess, meaning the other Greek gods and goddesses were real as well, along with any myths and legends. Naruto also guessed if Greek gods were real, then there must be other pantheons. Then for 7 years Naruto traveled, planned out his game, killed some people, and creating a weapon he could use to permanently kill gods. Now after years of plotting he was finally enacting his plan, and when all's said and done he will be the last one standing while all his enemies will be dead at his feet. And Athena will wish she never set foot in the elemental countries. Time skip 9 days with Annabeth. Annabeth ran through the woods looking around fearfully. All around her she could hear a demonic laughter that followed her not matter which way she ran. Suddenly she stopped and screamed when she saw Jason and Piper impaled to a tree with a spear. Turning the other way didn't help as she saw Leo's burned corpse on the ground. Next was Raina having been cut apart, Hazel with her heart torn out, Frank's severed head, Nico with his throat slit, Thalia shot full of arrows, and finally the one that hurt the most was Percy with Riptide stabbed through his chest. No, please gods no. Annabeth begged, backing away from the dead bodies of her friends and boyfriend, tears streaming down her face, though she soon backed up into someone, making her pale further in fear. Turning shakily, Annabeth gasped when she came face to mask with the killer. Before she could utter a single word, the killer stabbed his knife into her chest. One by one everyone you care for will die, said the killer before twisting the knife. Suddenly Annabeth gasped, waking up, looking around, finding herself in a plane with Percy looking at her, a worried expression on his face. It was just a dream, no a nightmare. Annabeth thought, her fears not fading, knowing for demigods dreams were never just dreams. Whatever it was, Annabeth knew she had to keep to herself, remembering the killer's warning, that if she told anyone about their talk he'd kill her family. Annabeth, are you all right? Asked Percy, seeing the fear in her eyes. Yeah, fine seaweed brain, just a bad dream, Annabeth said. Percy nodding slowly. Annabeth then thought of the events of the past 9 days since the killer called her. The council had gotten reports of the most recent killings in the settlement of Anima, a settlement built on the coast of Canada. They had all agreed to send 3 council members to try and find the killer before he leaves, hoping to finally capture or kill him. The members that had been chosen to go were Annabeth, Percy, and Thalia. Thalia was currently in her trying to distract herself from being in a plane, while Percy and Annabeth were simply waiting to land. Soon they all felt the jet land, showing they had arrived, with Thalia running out instantly, thankful to be back on solid ground, Percy and Annabeth following at a more sedate pace. Waiting for them was a teen with short blonde hair, lightly tanned skin, blue eyes, wielding a bow and arrow. All 3 could tell he was a son of Apollo from his looks. Are you the militia leader? Asked Percy. That's me, Jake Acosta, son of Apollo. Jake said, holding out his hand, which Percy shook. So, what can you tell us about the killings? Thalia questioned after calming her nerves. It happened about 5 days ago. A few demigods were out jogging when they called in to report a body down by the river. When we got there, we saw it had been cut up pretty bad. The cause of death was several stab marks between the ribs piercing the lungs. The body was also waterlogged, showing the killer had thrown her into the river after killing her. Since then we've had 3 more deaths, said Jake sadly, the 3 council members nodding. Anything else? Said Annabeth, hoping no one caught her stutter. Just that there are a lot of demigods terrified of being next. Jake said, all right, thank you, Jake. We'll take it from here, said Percy, Jake nodding. If you need anything else, come by the station or ask one of the patrolling officers, Jake said, waving as he went back to work. So, what's the plan? Questioned Thalia. Okay Thalia, go to where the bodies were found, see if you can pick up a trail. Annabeth, go the motel room and see if you can find somewhere this guy is hiding. I'll ask around, see if anyone's seen anything suspicious, said Percy, both nodding. Annabeth more slowly. Soon all 3 parted ways to complete their chose task. With Thalia. After getting the location of where the most recent body was found, luckily found last night, so any trail would still be fresh, which had been pinned to a tree. Frowning, Thalia looked around, still seeing blood staining the tree where the body had been, along with the same red mask picture painted on it. Then Thalia noticed something on the ground. Crouching down, Thalia wiped away some dirt holding up her fingers, finding them stained with blood. Looking forward, she saw drag marks on the ground, as if something was dragged across the ground. It looked like someone tried covering them in a hurry. So, they weren't killed here. The killer took their body here, or maybe somewhere else, but didn't make it and had to ditch the body. Only question is, why take the body anywhere? Thalia thought, since from the autopsy reports none of the bodies were cut up beyond recognition or mutilated, so why would the killer bother moving the body? Pushing those thoughts back for now, Thalia got up and began following the drag marks, likely to where the demigod had been killed, and hopefully something she can use to track the killer. Though as she walked through the woods, Thalia couldn't shake the feeling she was being followed. Grabbing her bow and nocking an arrow just in case, Thalia looked around for any movement when something strange happened. Where'd this mist come from? Thought Thalia as she saw a cloud of mist appear from seemingly nowhere. Snap whirling around, Thalia aimed her arrow where she heard a twig break but saw nothing. Then she saw something move from the corner of her and instantly turned, releasing the arrow only to hear it hit a tree. Quickly drawing another arrow, Thalia looked around, now hearing someone running through the mist, but she couldn't see them. Gulping, Thalia started to feel nervous. Usually if she was hunting monsters it was easy knowing where they were and how they acted, but this was a completely different type of monster. All right, asshole, you've had your fun now, how about you come out before I fill you full of holes? Shouted Thalia when she heard a whoosh of air before she hissed in pain. Raising her hand to her cheek, Thalia felt blood trickling down from the cut, making her pale a little. Looking, she saw the cause of the attack was a knife with a strange design with a ring at the base of the hilt, a kunai Thalia thought it was called. Now Thalia started getting scared, beginning to realize just what kind of lunatic she was dealing with. This was all a game to him. Putting her bow away, Thalia drew her hunting knives, which sparked with electricity. Hey! Why don't you come out and fight instead of hiding like a coward? Unless you're scared, fight me head on. Taunted Thalia, hoping that'd lure the killer out. It worked, as Thalia felt a presence behind her. Quickly turning, Thalia came face to mask with the killer, making her gasp. Before she could utter a word, the killer grabbed her by the throat, lifting her into the air. Gasping her air, Thalia dropped one of her knives, grabbing the killer's arm around her throat in attempt to pry their hand off, while said killer merely tilted his head. In an effort to make them let go, Thalia stabbed her other knife into the killer's arm, making sure to charge it with electricity. But to her shock, the killer didn't even flinch, just looking at her knife in his arm before back at her as if to say, really? He grabbed her knife from her hand and yanked it out of his arm, tossing it aside. "What the hell are you?" Thalia gasped in response. The killer smashed her head against a tree, knocking the hunter out. With Annabeth. Annabeth sat in the motel room looking over various maps of Anima for anywhere the killer might be hiding. The only places she could guess was in the forest or in the warehouse district by the docks. Though if Annabeth was honest with herself, she'd rather be back in the temple where she felt at least somewhat safe. Now out here in the open where the killer was, she felt exposed, as if she's being constantly watched. Annabeth jumped a little when her phone rang, making her look at it in fear, before shakily grabbing it, seeing it was unknown caller. "What do you want?" said Annabeth. What's the matter? You don't sound happy to hear from me." "And here I thought you came all the way here to see me. That really hurts, Annie." "Careful, hurt my feelings. I may just have to hurt your little hunter friend." Those words made Annabeth freeze in horror. The killer had Thalia. "Where is she?" Annabeth demanded, afraid of what he'd do to her friend. "She's safe, for now. And if you want her to keep being safe, I'm gonna need to do a little something for me." "How do I even know you really have her?" said Annabeth, hoping the killer was bluffing about having Thalia. In response, her phone beeped, showing the killer sent her a message. Looking, Annabeth saw it had an attachment. Opening it, showing it was a GIF, Annabeth gasped in fear, seeing Thalia unconscious on the ground while the killer stood over her waving at the camera while the words "Hunter turned hunted" flashed in red. "Believe me now." All right, just please don't hurt her," pleaded Annabeth, not wanting her friend to die. "I won't, just as long as you do what I say." Annabeth took a shaky breath. She had two choices, the first being to not do what the killer says, and Thalia dies, or do what he says, and Thalia stays safe. "Swear on Styx you won't hurt her," said Annabeth. "I swear on the river Styx I will not kill Thalia Grace as long as you complete my task I give you to the letter." Thunder rumbled in the sky, showing the oath was made. "What do you want me to do?" asked Annabeth. "There's a good girl. Now here's what you need to do. At precisely midnight, go down to the docks to warehouse 9. Inside you'll find a package. You're gonna open it and find 2 items and a note inside. The note will have further instructions." "That's it," said Annabeth, having expected more disturbing. "That's it. And after you'll let Thalia go," Annabeth said, wanting to make sure her friend will be set free after the little hunter will be returned alive. "Talk to you later, Annie." With that, the killer hung up while Annabeth tried desperately to calm her rapidly beating heart. The killer had Thalia, and now she had to do what he said, or Thalia would pay the price. Later midnight. Naruto stood idly watching warehouse, waiting for Annabeth to show up, pulling out one of his burner phones, dialing a number and waiting for the person to pick up. "Acosta. Hi, yes, I'd like to report some suspicious activity down by the warehouse district," said Naruto, making sure to disguise his voice. "What kind of suspicious activity?" "I saw a person sneaking into a warehouse. Not sure which one. They seemed to be dragging large bundles inside with them," Naruto replied with a smirk. "All right, stay right where you are. The militia will be there soon to get a full report." "Better hurry, I see them coming back," said Naruto, hanging up and throwing the phone away while seeing Annabeth enter warehouse 9. With Annabeth. Annabeth breathed deeply as she entered the warehouse, finding it completely dark aside from a single light bulb shining down on a brown package on the ground. Walking up to the package, Annabeth picked it up and opened it up, paling when she saw a bloody knife and the killer's mask inside, along with the note. Grabbing the note, Annabeth unfolded it, seeing what it said. Put me on. Pick me up. Gulping, seeing what the killer wanted, Annabeth grabbed the mask, sliding it on over her face before picking up the knife. All right, now what? Muttered Annabeth, feeling dirty wearing this mask. Then she noticed something else in the box. Looking, she saw more writing. Smile for the camera. For a moment Annabeth was confused before her eyes widened in realization. But it was too late, as the warehouse lights went on and a camera began taking several pictures of Annabeth in the killer's mask and holding a bloody knife. But what had Annabeth's attention were the 5 dead demigods strung up by their hands. It was in that moment Annabeth realized the killer had set her up. Annabeth robotically pulled out her phone once it rang, already knowing who it was. Damn killer, never knew you had such a dark side. I wonder what your friends would think if they saw these lovely pictures of you after brutally killing 5 demigods. You set you up. Annabeth hissed in anger. Of course, I did, but who will believe you? You can't tell anyone. I mean, how will you explain finding 5 bodies no one else could, or having my mask and my knife? And you can't tell anyone about these secret calls unless you want me leaving pieces of your family across America. Face it, killer, we're partners now. Also, you might want to get out of there, as I just saw the militia arriving along with your little boyfriend. This made Annabeth pale, her anger replaced with fear at being caught like this. Quickly taking the mask off, throwing it and the knife away, and ran out of the warehouse. Later Annabeth made her way back to the motel room, after avoiding the militia members scouring the warehouse district, likely finding the bodies in warehouse 9 by now. It had just been one bad thing after another. First, the killer called her again, revealing he had Thalia, set her up to look like his partner, probably was the one who called the militia, and worst of all, he still had Thalia. All of it made Annabeth want to cry, with tears welling in her eyes. Once she reached the room, she stopped, seeing a note pinned to the door, thinking it the killer. Gloating, Annabeth tore it down, not reading it, and went in the room. Though she stopped when she saw Thalia laying on the couch, her chest raising ever so lightly, showing she was alive. Shocked and relieved at seeing her friend alive, Annabeth looked at the note. A deal's a deal. Relief flooded Annabeth that the killer did as he said and returned Thalia. Running over to her, Annabeth knelt down and shook Thalia awake, wanting to make sure she was really alive. Thalia, please wake up," said Annabeth, as Thalia moved a little before her eyes opened, much to Annabeth's relief. "Annie," groaned Thalia, still disoriented, while Annabeth pulled her into a hug. "Thank the gods you're alive," Annabeth whispered, while Thalia seemed to remember what happened. "Annabeth, the killer. I saw him, he attacked me. What, how did I get here?" said Thalia rapidly. It's okay, what's important is that you're here now," Annabeth said, as Thalia began shivering. "I actually thought I was going to die, and there was nothing I could have done about it," said Thalia lowly, while Annabeth comforted her friend. For a single moment Annabeth was thankful the killer kept his word, but that didn't quell the anger she felt of what he did to her friend, and swore she'd make him pay for everything he's done. Morning *WH What did you say?" asked Annabeth, paling rapidly. Percy, however, didn't notice, looking too proud. "At the warehouse district, we found 5 other bodies. Not only that, we found the killer's knife and mask. He must have just been finishing and ditched them when he heard us arrive. They've just been sent to the temple to try and find any fingerprints or DNA samples in the mask. We've finally made a breakthrough, and we're one step closer to find this psycho," said Percy, Thalia equally relieved after what happened with her encounter with the killer. The only one not relieved was Annabeth, knowing for a fact that the only fingerprints and DNA that will be found on the knife and mask will be hers. In her haste to escape the warehouse, she had foolishly dropped the mask and knife. Now they are on the way to the temple. That's great, Percy. Does that mean we'll be going back as well?" asked Annabeth, hoping she'd be able to arrive at the temple before the mask and knife and possibly steal and destroy them. Yep, though Jake offered to let us stay a few more days to rest. Said Percy. No. Annabeth shouted, surprising Percy, while Thalia looked at her in confusion. I mean, no, I just want to be back at the temple when we learn who the killer is, to see if it might be someone we overlooked, and I may have missed an obvious clue, you know. Said Annabeth nervously. All right, I guess that makes sense, let's go. Percy said, Annabeth nodding, hoping they got there before the mask and knife. Time skip 2 days. Annabeth couldn't deny the relief she felt as she entered her apartment. When they had arrived back at the temple, they were greeted by Jason and Leo, worrying Annabeth that the mask and knife had arrived and been tested. But in fact, they told them that the truck transporting the knife and mask had been ambushed, the guards and drivers killed, and the mask and knife gone. She already knew the killer was responsible, but doubts he did it out the goodness of his heart. He had a motive for doing. Before she could continue that train of thought, her phone rang, making her glare at nothing in particular. What do you want? Demanded Annabeth. Easy, killer. No need to be so hostile, especially after I returned your little friend and cleaned up your mess with the knife and mask. After all, what kind of partner would I be if I didn't help out? Okay, first, we are not partners, you set me up. Second of all, get this through, that demented little head of yours stay away from me and my friends, stop calling me, and leave me alone. I'm done with you. Growled Annabeth, hanging up before the killer could say anything. Instantly her phone vibrated with a message. Looking, she saw it was from the killer. Then I'll just find someone else to play with. Unknown location. Thalia groaned as she opened her eyes before closing them at the bright overhead lights. Opening her eyes slowly, Thalia tilted her head to not stare directly at the lights, before her eyes snapped open as she registered laying on a metal surface and something in her arm. Raising her head, Thalia's eyes widened when she saw she strapped to a metal table wearing a white gown instead of her regular attire, making her realize in horror that someone had stripped her of her clothes. Swallowing the bile rising in her throat, Thalia looked at her arm, seeing an IV bag. Hyperventilating, Thalia tried calming herself down enough to create some electricity. But to her further horror, Thalia realized she couldn't summon any lightning or wind. She couldn't use her powers. Just then she heard a door open, making her look around rapidly, trying to find it but couldn't. Hey! Hey! Who's there? Who are you? Shouted Thalia, only getting deep raspy breathing in response and loud heavy steps. Soon the masked visage of the killer came into Thalia's view, making her pale, realizing she had been captured. What are you going to do to me? Said Thalia, afraid he already did something to her while she was knocked out. In response, the killer raised a gloved finger to their masked mouth before pulling out a syringe and injecting it into the IV as Thalia struggled in her restraints. No, 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 keep that away from me, I swear. Said Thalia, feeling sleepy from whatever he injected in her before sleep took. Thalia felt the killer caress her cheek.